how's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have a familiar guest, or maybe not. She could say her name, what she does. I'll let her take the floor.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Emily Coffey. I'm a solo artist from Portland, Maine. And we're here to catch up with Audio Addiction Media.
There we go. Well, Emily has been on the channel very long ago, so it's always good to I don't know, I feel like it's been a resurgence recently where I've had people I've interviewed like very early on in doing YouTube, and now they're all coming back, which is again
That's
warms my heart. So
crazy. It's
I
like
love it.
all coming full circle.
All full circle. And I love it because I always hold a special place in my heart for the people who were like early adopters to what I do. So Emily, always much love
Definitely.
to
I
you.
mean, it's cool too to see how like that, to be able to come back and see who you've impacted enough to be like, oh yeah, we got to get back on audio addiction. Like Brandon just, like for real. It's one of the reasons I came back.
Oh, well, thank you, Emily. I always, like I said, always appreciate it. And, been doing this for, weird to say, been doing this in February. Coming up, I'll be doing it for 7 years. So that's
Wow,
pretty nuts.
congrats.
Thank you.
Oh my
Thank you.
gosh.
So I feel, I always say this every time, but if I was to stop doing this tomorrow, I would feel fulfilled, but I'm
There
not.
you
Obviously,
go.
I don't want anybody to freak out. I'm not going anywhere. But if I
No,
was,
don't scare us like that.
I know. Well, Emily, like I said, it's been a while. You were under a different name at the time making music, and I think I had
Yes.
interviewed you twice, and then obviously this is the third time, which is really great. Tell the people what's been going on, what's happened. There's a bunch of shit we can get into certainly, but obviously what's been going on more currently with your music project. I did have a chance, and that was partially the reason why was just like, okay, let me get everything set up. I was listening to some of the new songs to just kind of give a refresher course. So we could talk about those songs certainly, when the time comes. But what's been going on. I think the last time we talked was maybe, I want to say, like 5 years ago,
I
4 or 5 years
think
ago.
so. It was probably, I think, either 2019 or 2020. So, like, pre-pandemic easily.
Three,
I know
yeah,
that.
definitely,
But, like,
definitely.
oh my gosh. So, that dash in between the date of our last chat and now, there's been a lot that's gone on. So, last time I was on the show, I was under the name Jordan Coffey. Um, I have transitioned since, but still kept my love for doing heavy, weird, fun music. So I don't know if I would describe my music as fun, but it's fun for me,
It is
anyways.
fun. I like it. Yeah.
It's funny too. I feel like the happier and more healed I get, like the angrier my music becomes. Like it's just, it's like it's got to be that
It's
level of
the
intensity going
dichotomy,
somewhere, I guess. Oh man. So yeah, no, it's been crazy. I actually just this year, I'm going into nursing soon. I picked up
Oh,
a CNA
awesome.
job, so like whole new career path. I had lived in Portland for a while, and while I was there, I had a stint where I did streaming on Twitch for a while, which was so much fun. Oh my gosh, all the people I met doing that, and just the connections you make on that. Like the Twitch
Oh
friends
yeah.
are like lifelong friends. Like it's crazy. But that was a really, really good opportunity. I got to focus on my school for a bit too, so I kind of pushed more to doing singles rather
Mhm.
than like wanting to crank out full lengths every year. Um, and I feel like too, it makes I got to flex a little because I do all of the production duties.
Yeah.
Everything except for mixing and mastering. I do the artwork, I do all the music, vocals, what have you. Um, so I like sometimes you feel like in that process, like you have so much to do. Like
Oh
it'd
yeah.
be nice if this one song got like some attention rather than just like the generic, oh, hey, great record, Emily. Like it'd be just nice to like, so I feel like that switch, even though it toned down the content for a little bit, made the quality of each one better.
Mhm.
Like I was able to like pull out a few more stops for each thing and it was really nice. So, but yeah, like I said, focusing on school, I just this year, God, I would say 90%, okay, 5 of the 6 songs on that EP were recorded by January. One of them was recorded last month.
Woo.
That is how long this thing has been held up. So that is where we are now, my friends.
Well, first of all, again, I feel like I see this as often as I can. I love the LGBT community and I think it's such a great thing. And so for me, like, I always try to know that this is very much a safe space. This is a platform for you guys. You guys create awesome music. So,
You
for
have
me to
never
highlight.
once treated me differently in how like you talk to me or approach me or anything. Dude, guys, like Brandon's not just saying this for clout, okay? Like he's the real deal.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm not trying to show for anybody. I just do it here for the music. I love music, so I feel like anybody who makes anything is worthy of having on here. I am very mid. I consider. I don't know if anybody has seen my video that I posted on Instagram. I'm very a mid tier interviewer. I don't feel like I'm great. I don't think I'm terrible. Just kind of somewhere in the middle. So for me, again, it was just great to get Emily on, and obviously, she creates fantastic music. I had the chance to listen to all four of the songs. Mean Girls with a dollar sign. I feel like I have to mention that because if not, then people are going to type in like Mean Girls, like the movie, and then be confused, and then I don't want to prolong the
There's a whole
confusion.
copyright thing there. Yeah.
We're trying to evade, dodge different things, so I respect that. Then you have another track called LMTFA, and I said it slow, so I didn't screw it up for you guys. Again, very bad with words, so gonna again continue with that. And then more currently, I listen to Taste of You and Daddy Issues. They were both really cool. I think the jump from Daddy Issues to Taste of You was a complete shock to me because I was like, what is going on here? Like it was such a weird transition, and I was like, is she like a DJ now? Like what's going on here?
Oh
And
no.
then
So like
eh,
oh
eh,
that
but
stuff's all been there. But yeah, thank you for
I feel
noticing.
like I feel like it's always been there, because I went back and listened to some of the old catalogs certainly, and I was like, okay, she's always had like electronic influence, but this one felt like the most forward in that direction. And so I was like, this seems a little weird, but I'm gonna go with it because I love what Emily does. So I was already just full bore on that. And then I was like, okay, let me check out some of the other ones. So I did check out Taste of You and LMTFA, and I was like, okay, now it makes more sense. But I feel like if you do listen to Daddy Issues, I would definitely listen to the other ones just to kind of get more of a barometer because I'm not having Elysium on or something, a EDM artist. So just want to just disclaimer to
Full
everybody watching
disclaimer,
this.
yeah.
But it's really cool, and I think for me personally, as seeing your journey throughout the many years I've seen you do stuff, I appreciate the variety of how you go about different things, and I think Taste of You, out of the ones that I listened to, kind of encapsulated like the electronic elements, like the heavy elements, the screaming, the singing, and it just all worked really well in harmony. So I'm hoping that for me, the new EP that you're going to be releasing, and obviously we'll delve into that a little bit more later on, but I hope it's kind of like an amalgamation of like some electronic elements, a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of melodicness, and then just like all stirred in a pot together, and then fantastic record is birthed. But
Oh,
it reminded
oh,
me a lot of like Spirit Box, like in that same sort of like category. So like I was already vibing super hard with that. I love Spirit Box.
oh.
So like that was like the first initial band that I was like, okay, is she trying to do like the Spirit Box, like metal, electronic? Like I'm so down for that because I feel like anytime there's another female musician just like in the scene, chef's kiss. We love it.
There's
So
not many of us, dude.
I
Like it's
know.
hard.
It's great, but I feel like I have to ask you, Emily, like, what was the thought process? You do have an EP going to be coming out probably roughly around the time this interview releases. So, what can people expect? Am I kind of on the right track in terms of like the Spirit Box thing, or divulge? I would
So
love to know.
you've definitely got like you hit one of the main influences for sure.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, so a new form of self-hatred. It's got a little taste of everything. You're pretty spot on with that. I before had been kind of like a little bit more post-hardcore
Yeah.
leaning and a little bit more like on that side of things. And but honestly, like I really miss like I don't know. I wanted to think differently about it. And
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think that was really one of the only intentions. I mean, obviously, yeah, totally, full disclosure here, we stand Courtly New Plant over here, okay? Like, Spirit Box is just top tier.
Goaded.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely got flavors of that, little bits of like old material of mine, and a whole lot of new stuff too, I hope.
hmm
Like, I'm kind of feeling like, yeah, it's definitely a bit of a journey. There's all kinds of flavors on it.
I'm very excited because, like, I think with the variety of the songs I've listened to, and I imagine, I don't know, I think all four of the songs I listened to are on the EP. If my memory serves me correct. If not, you can obviously let me know.
So
But
Mean Girls was actually pre this album cycle. But Daddy
okay.
Issues, Taste of You, LMTFA, those are all on the same record. So
Okay, cool. Kind of
yeah.
partially. But
Yeah.
I feel like they're all within the same sort of like tree of like, Emily, what she's doing, and I think there's for me, I just appreciate kind of like more of the aggressive like tonality of what you're doing now, and like the screams on point definitely like hits that like I was like getting my computer set up. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, I like it. This is going, and I was like, I wonder what she's gonna do next. And then you hit me with something different, especially with Taste of You. I felt like that one just that was just a great like aggressive track, and I was like, okay, I'm picking up a vibe, and like I'm hoping that she kind of runs with it. And for me, I've always appreciated like the elements of melodicness, and also like how people kind of interweave like electronic elements, and with the fact that you produce it yourself, like obviously taking the mix and mastering into the equation as well. I think that that's really cool, and I gotta give you a lot of kudos for that because I feel like when I
Aw.
have producers on, like, and I'll let you talk about this, but like I always, for me, like I run this YouTube channel, so like I'm very much like in the driver's seat, and people are like, "Man, are you gonna get an editor?" And I was like, "Probably not," because I like am kind of a glutton for punishment. I do like the fact that I like work my ass off for this, and like I'm the one that like takes credit for it. So like when you were working on this EP, were you like extra hard on yourself in terms of like, okay, this has to be great, like this has to be meticulous, like I want to kind of go through the process with you, Emily, on like how these songs were created, because I feel like there's a lot of like obviously a lot of angst about this, this whole EP, which again all about uh did you feel like in certain spots you're just like like I know it's there, like I know I can get more out of it, like I know I could if I push myself just like that little bit more, like I know I'm gonna get a little bit more energy or a little bit more emotion out of it. Do you feel like because you had taken that time to kind of like work on it and like really just like delve deep, that allowed you to just like put the best stuff out there?
Absolutely. I mean, I was, like I said, very intentional about how I went into the process of writing it. It's personal on a lot of levels.
hmm
I mean, the name a new form of self-hatred. It's about dysphoria partially. It's about just this internal conflict of knowing that like there's this idea of better, but not
yeah.
having damn clue how to get there. And I'm like, I have always kind of conveyed a similar like message in my music, but I really wanted to bring more out of it. I'm like, all right, if we've got like inklings of it before, let's draw them all out. Let's pull all the threads. That's why there's a pop song on there. That's why Taste of You, it's probably the hookiest song
Yeah,
on
I would
there,
agree.
like it's even with the screaming chorus, it's just, you want to kind of bop to it a little,
Oh, agreed.
uh, but even that song, let's see, while I was doing last year, I released 4 songs and eventually released a fifth one that was written that year.
hmm
But behind the scenes, I probably wrote closer to 30 songs. And I'm
Wow.
not joking. If I, had prepared better, I would have showed like a screenshot of it or something. But like, there's an entire just folder of, like, and I've always got little irons in the fire and stuff like that. But
Sure.
for me, it was really just this, like, honestly, going fully heavy with it was one of the last decisions before I like really started to pick apart what this record was, because I
Wow.
was like, I know I want these elements in it. I know I want to do something different. Um, and between Mean Girls and this EP, I mean, Mean Girls was like my voice had started to change then,
Sure,
but I
yeah.
had just barely, barely, barely started doing voice training. And um, LMTFA was actually the first product of that where I was just like, you know what? This is it. This is like how Emily is supposed to sound now.
Yeah.
Like that is her voice. There's two songs on the EP that really do it for me, but LMTFA was the first one that really um, I sat in my studio for like I think 4 hours one day just ironing out that do 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 do
Yeah,
do
yeah.
do do do, and just every little part of that I needed to be perfect. You know, I tend to freelance a lot of stuff too. Like when I send stuff off to be mixed and produced and stuff like that, that's really where the producer steps in. As
Sure.
far as writing and bringing like full concepts, like I do that all on my own. And uh, I used to have a bit more of a punk mentality of like, yeah, this is the song I wrote this morning, this is how it goes. And it's good, but and then you hear like, oh, but there could be a lot more to that if you tried, like if you really
Sure.
dug deep. Not a general statement about punk. That's about Emily's punk history and not caring about tuning or playing my guitar well. So,
I feel
uh,
that, yeah.
a really long-winded answer to your question.
No, no,
No,
no, no.
but yeah, I really wanted to be um, genuine about how I presented my emotions. I don't think there's a single moment on the record where I said fuck it. I said it how I said it. I wanted to make sure everything that I said and how I said it um, came across the way it was supposed to. Um, there was there were two songs that got cut from it in the writing
Mhm.
process. I mean, same vibe, but they more or less the ideas got repurposed into something better. So ultimately, what we've come up with, or what I've you know got all together, is something that takes you from "I'm the problem" to "Oh shit, there's the problem. I'm ready for it."
Yeah, yeah.
Because like "Taste of You" is like um, it's at the height of addiction. It's falling apart and just your issues are running rampant and you have no control. And then daddy issues is just like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it's there's I wanted to have a record that didn't just say one thing 5 or 6 or 7 times. I wanted everything on it to be, yeah, it's more or less like a mini album. Like I know there's
Yeah.
only 6 songs on it. One of them's a cover, but it's about as well thought out, I'd say.
No, and I think you explaining it and obviously going through that process of like, transitioning and stuff like that, I imagine that obviously has a lot of fuel to that fire as well. And I think with the songs that I've heard thus far, it just to me was like you could feel that energy, like I felt stoked that I was like, okay, I'm listening to this. This is like a part of something that is like, you can tell there's a lot of like anger and a lot of, hatred on this album, but like in a way that doesn't feel like, like you could come at it a certain way and like you could kind of like, veer off the path a little bit and then come back to the same street. I feel like you just went like, let's just go straight through the fucking woods and like, let's
Exactly.
go for
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And I love that because I think sometimes like you could use a beautiful metaphor and there's plenty of bands that you do that well and I'm not going to argue with that. Like a band I love, Silent Planet, like I think they do a very eloquent
Oh,
job of
yes.
just like putting the lyricism together and just like they're sending it all 100% all the time. However, there are bands that I feel like, and Emily included, like where you just cut out the fat, like let's go for it, let's hit you right where it hurts. And I think that that's important because I think sometimes you just need a song that just is so direct that you're like, Oh shit. You know what? That's I didn't really think about it that way, but now that it's like very much in the face of it, I think that shows a lot of, a lot of heart, a lot of just willingness to want to put yourself out there in that way, because I feel like music is something, again, very dear to my heart, and I'm sure very dear to Emily's heart and a lot of you watching as well, that um I think that's why I love this type of music so much, is that you put it all out there. Like, people are going to love you regardless of if you're using it in a metaphorical way or if you're cutting straight to the point and telling you how it feels. Like, I think that's like the beauty of listening to this, and then just like having the added element of screaming and like singing. You can just, I don't know, I get goosebumps all the time, just like listening to music and have stuff that like directly hits you. Like, I was listening to the new Dayseeker record last night,
Oh my
and
god.
parallel I'm not even gonna lie, like a bitch was crying on stream last night, because that I got like hit like by a four by, like a
Oh
truck
my
like
gosh,
on
it's a
stream.
gut punch.
Oh, it
It
is
literally is. It's just, oh my god.
and
I
I
love
don't.
that you brought up Silent Planet too. Like they just, it's like the crescendo effect. You know,
Oh
when
yeah.
it just that one moment hits you and you're like, damn. Um, yeah, no, I think the directness that I go for sometimes, I think that's one of the things that's still left over from like my punk mentality of, this is the thought, this is the idea. Let's not get too far from it. Let's dress
Yeah.
it up a little, but yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely become like an amalgamate of the two. And
Yeah.
I definitely think that I mean, there are bands that will do that better than I ever will. I mean, Deftones, Gojira. There's so many bands that just hit that depth like nobody else can. And I understand that mine is a bit more of like underhanded almost. Like it
Uh
kind of like it kind of comes out of it's like I don't know. That's not the word I'm looking for. What am I looking for? It's like Southpaw, more or less. It's like, oh, you
yeah.
didn't get to hit from that direction. Like that sort
Yeah.
of thing. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like, for I could, if I could relate it into words, it feels like a sucker punch, like
Yeah. There you go.
you're expecting something, and you're like, okay, this is what it is. And it was very similarly to Daddy Issues. Like, I was expecting something and I got completely sucker punched into believing that's what it is. And I listened to, Taste of You, and I was like, okay, this is home. This is where I'm at, parking my camper here, and we're listening to this shit. Um so I think for me, it's just like really cool to see the progression and obviously the heart that you're putting into this EP. And guys, I'll leave links below. Go listen
Yes.
to this shit. I need you to listen. I'm gonna look directly in the camera. I need you to listen to this shit right now. Obviously, don't stop this video. Like, finish watching it, and then like after it's over with, then you can go listen to it. You know, put it to your kids to go to bed. I don't know, but like it's gonna, bless the
These are the
soul.
facts.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
Brandon laying down the law here.
I listen, I anytime I have people on here, I have to tell people what it is. So I feel like, I I am everyone's biggest supporter. So I feel like Emily, salutes to her. Um
Oh, dude. Oh, thank you. You are
Speaking
so
on,
appreciated.
well, obviously we're having you on here, so that's the most important thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
Emily, obviously, with the new EP on the horizon, I have to ask this one. I'm sure it's like picking your favorite child, but do you happen to have a song off the EP that you're just like, that's my baby. I love it?
I do. Normally, it's really hard for me to do that. It is like picking children. It's like, oh my god, like no, this one's good because this, and I was feeling this way when I wrote that one. For this one, it is definitely "I Feel Shitty." It's it's the opening song on the EP.
Oh,
And I love, again, I don't know. I guess as a solo artist, I never really put much stock in like picking names. I'm like, yeah, but it's just me making music. So, like,
you do whatever.
so when they hear Emily, and then when I Feel Shitty comes on, and they're like, oh my God, like, that is one of my favorite feelings. Like they're like, that sound came out of a girl, and I'm like, yeah, bro,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got it. Respect.
But yeah, no, that song for sure. Just it hits the weird, the heavy, the melodic. It's got a little flavor of everything in it. So
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
it's a perfect song to recommend because like I always have the follow up, which is like, what song do you feel like best describes your sound? And I feel like, we gotta go with "I Feel So Shitty." So, guys, again, I already told you this like 5 minutes ago. Links in the description. Go listen to that shit. It's great. I'm excited. So go get blessed by Emily. Uh, the next question I have for you, Emily, we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier in regards to like influences, but in terms of the styling on the EP, as well as just, I'm sure you found new bands between the times we've interviewed. Who influenced this new EP in terms of like the bands maybe you were listening to at the time, or even kind of maybe your lyricism on that? Were there any specific like bands or people in your life that were just like, you know, tell me what's good,
Couple of the most just Spirit Box definitely we mentioned is a big influence. Ginger is another one.
Ooh,
Tati oh my gosh. The first time I saw Pisces, I was like, that's what I want to do. That is
she's
what I
great.
want to do.
Oh, yeah.
And it just sort of went from there. I've been listening to a lot of those too. I've been listening to Tetrarch, their new album, their debut, Unstable. Guys, oh my god, so good. Let's see what else. Polaris.
Ooh,
Um, actually did get kind of into Acacia Strain for a little bit too. Just like those lower tones, man. Fun thing about this EP too. Um, speaking of all the bands that play the low heavies, so I did a little. I don't know. I guess it's kind of a West Borland thing. I put baritone strings on my sixth string, so the entire EP is in drop G,
oh,
almost an entire octave down from. So
ooh, love it. Oh man.
that's new because before I was playing in like drop C sharp, so like that's like 6 notes up there.
I feel that as someone who is like heavily in the market for looking for a baritone guitar, I feel like you have
Yes.
scratched the itch a little bit, and I didn't really realize it, and now listening to the songs, I'm like, wait a second, now it all makes sense. So that's genius. I like that, Emily. I'll
I
have
feel
to.
like every couple of years, heavy music moves down a few notes. It was drop D and then drop C, then it was drop A after drop C caught on, and then now y'all are just like at drop F sharp, an octave down and shit. I'm like, pretty soon we're just gonna have basses up there, yo.
It's just
But
too
like,
big.
I'm here for it.
Well, they have the band Omnirific, which is two bass players and a drummer. So I mean, like we're already
It's
there.
true.
We're gonna have like an even lower tuned bass. It's just gonna be like
Yes.
completely just like sub bass the entire time. It's like so
Exactly. It's all. Oh my gosh.
it's getting too much, guys. Like I love heavy music, don't get me wrong, but we're gonna reach a point where we're not even gonna be able to like accurately depict what a guitar sounds like versus like, I think we should just start going up octaves now. Like we should try to make like the highest guitar sounds we possibly can.
Twangiest metal that you
We're
can think of.
gonna start waking up all the dogs in the neighborhood. They're gonna be like, like some person down the street's like, what's going on in this house? Like the dogs are freaking
Oh
out.
my god.
I feel like that'd be great, guys. If you're watching this interview and you haven't started on it yet, it's the perfect. Please don't
No,
do that.
somebody
Actually,
somebody needs to start a song with like what you think is 5 seconds of silence, but it's the recording of a dog whistle.
Guys, this is the challenge, right? Let's make it happen.
Gold here, everybody. Come on. Just
Reality. Listen, I won't be able to understand, but all the dogs in your neighborhood would. So I don't know why we were
oh my
suggesting this,
gosh.
but I feel like we're gonna get so many complaints now, Emily, about they're gonna be like, all the dogs in the neighborhood are just screaming right now. We had to call
Yeah,
animal
thanks,
control.
guys. Appreciate it.
I can't sleep
Made my dog
anymore.
go nuts,
I
so
haven't slept for 5 days now. Man, we're a mess. But
yes.
getting back to the topic, Emily, I do like that. I didn't realize it's now when I go back and listen to these songs again, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have more an appreciation for it because I'm gonna be like, man, the drop G is on point here. But I love that you mentioned Ginger. That was the other band I was like trying to remember, but I was having a real
Gosh.
brain fart moment, and I was like, man, couldn't be remiss if I didn't talk about Ginger. I love that band so much, and I also was very similar to you, where I watched that live video of them doing Pisces in the
Pisces.
studio. Woo!
Oh my god.
That's a watch. I was just like, I was like, I think I was like in the middle of doing something, and then I watched it come up on my TV over here, and I watch it every once in a while, but every time that song comes up on like my suggested videos or whatever, I'll just like turn.
You know
Like
it's going full blast.
I gotta give it the attention it deserves. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't do that. Same with like Spirit Box. I have, not to flex or anything, but I do have the first EP on the first pressing that they did a vinyl, and I love their first EP so much. That is
Oh my
like,
gosh. Leash
whew,
bath, all the stuff off of that is just, oh my god.
mm, underrated. I feel like a lot of people are like,
Also,
E Blue,
they're
is
they're like
great.
getting into the like underrated, overrated category where they're getting enough press that people are like, oh, they're just the next big thing. But it's like, no, but they actually are like the best though.
Yes. Can't convince me otherwise. I think I found out about them pretty early on, and I'll give a little secret that I feel like, Emily is going to appreciate, and maybe you guys are. But I had the opportunity to interview them very early on, like first EP days. And it was currently in between the time where I have gotten my new PC and the old one, and I was transitioning. And at the time, we had like a huge like thunderstorm, and it cut out my power, and I wind up like emailing their like press contact, and I was like, "Hey, so I don't have any internet, so I can't do this." And I don't know
Oh
if they like hate me
no.
now, but I that
Aw.
has always been like the sore spot in my heart that I don't feel like anybody's has known up until this point. But I had like that was like pre like singles EP, like it was like when they were like pretty early on. And every time Spirit Box gets brings up, I lose a little bit more of my
Well,
sanity for I
little
love
piece of
them. I want to say I
side.
love Spirit Box. Don't get me wrong, wonderful band, but every time it gets talked about, either when I'm out with friends or like doing interviews, I feel like a little part of me just dissipates off the screen.
Aw.
Not to make me feel bad or like I still love Spirit Box. Obviously,
Oh
I've
no,
picked
I
up all of
totally
their
get that
albums.
though. I would be crushed if it were me. No, I so
Oh.
get that. No, I
Yeah,
totally
I
understand.
definitely went into a little bit of depressionary mode after that
Oh,
happened because I was just like it was so close. Like it was like, it's like when you're within arm's reach or something, and hey,
yeah.
what happens, it happens. But hopefully Spirit Box, if you watch this, like I'd love to have you back on.
Maybe it can be another one that comes full circle for you. You never know.
I'd cry. I would cry on that interview for 100%, no doubt. But yeah, I like that. I like the fact that again, and I know I mentioned it before, but I love the fact that there's such an intention to like the electronic elements as well in these songs, because I feel like sometimes like you get one band that's just like, yo, heaviness, we're gonna rock with this, and then they hit you with like a really heavy song, and you're like, okay, that's great, but electronics, they could be like tweaked a little bit, and I feel like with what you're doing, Emily, it was like, okay, the heaviness, we got it, but like, how can we like add another element in there that's just gonna be like equally as good? And I was like, okay, the electronics also on point. So I think the heaviness matched with like the electronic elements. They kind of did like a Dragon Ball Z fusion thing where I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I was so on point,
So,
so good. It
uh,
was so good.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. No, that's another thing about the writing process too. Is that in years past, I am notorious for always starting writing songs on guitar.
Same.
Everything starts with the riff, and I build from there. I did the complete opposite this time. Everything started with the samples, and I was like, you know what? Let's start composing this way, and then just
Hmm.
kind of go from there. The beat that's at the end of LMTFA, of a version of that existed before that guitar riff did. So it kind of like, yeah. So that's part of why it. I was like, this is always. I feel like electronic sometimes can be just like a little, like the cherry on top of an ice cream.
Oh,
They just throw it on
100%.
because it looks nice and you can, and it's there, and it doesn't really add anything. But I was like, I don't really want to do that. I like the idea that these are fully formed sounds. I mean, like we mentioned all the heavy influences, but on the complete flip side of that, I've also been listening to Juice World, SZA. I listen to a lot of like glitch hop now and
Oh,
dubstep, and just chip tunes is a big thing for me. I mean, there's always a little bit of 8-bit crush going on with those samples, but um, I like having that be a separate thought that I can build around rather than just a decorative piece at the end.
yeah, I
So
think I think it's like two collective thoughts where it's like one side is like, okay, let me think about the electronics, how do they fit in with like the heaviness of the guitars? The other one's like, okay, we have these drums, we have bass, we have vocals, like how are these gonna mesh together and just sound great? Because like very easily it could get out of hand and sound like not as good as what you imagine it to be. And I think that again by spending that time and like really working on it, I feel like they're all really fleshed out, and I really enjoyed listening to all of the songs that I had like not listened to because I think there's such an attention to detail on all of them that I was like, okay, she like was spending time in the lab, cooking up some good
yes.
stuff, and I think it paid off certainly, and I'm very excited to listen to the songs that I have not listened to because I feel like they'll kind of like full circle it, for me, where I'm
Oh,
like,
I'm,
okay,
I'm gonna send you a promo copy before it comes out, so you'll be, yeah.
maybe we'll have Emily on again and we'll do the live track by track like I've been doing on the
No, I
channel.
would
Like
so be down for that.
let's
Make
get
it a
a
thing.
we're gonna make it happen. So by the time this comes out, maybe we'll have something working, cooking, always cooking. And
Oh
but
yes.
I got to point out the chip tune because you obviously know I'm a huge video game fan, so I was
Oh
already
yeah.
stoked on that. You gotta throw it in, and you said Twitch, so I already we already know Emily. We're close in that way. But I like I said, very excited for the EP. All like I said, all three of the songs that are on the EP. Sounded really cool, and I'm just waiting for that moment where I can listen to the final couple songs and just be like, okay, it's all together, it's all in one piece. Because like that's kind of how I felt about like the Dayseeker songs. I was like, how is this gonna map out? How is it, how's everything gonna
Yeah.
work? And it just worked out beautifully. And that is current. That video is currently blocked worldwide as of right now, currently. But I'm working to get the songs cut out so I can still keep all of the like my thoughts on the actual songs up. So keep your eyes peeled. It'll probably be fixed by the time this video comes out anyway. So go
Let's
watch it if you
hope.
want. I was crying in the club on those last two songs. That shit had me stirred up. I was like I was a mess by the end of it. So if
Oh,
you want to see me messed up, watch that video. It's great. But anyway, Emily, I have to ask this. I always love asking this. What are you currently listening to now? What's on the Spotify? What are you jamming more recently?
more recently. Oh my gosh, I can actually tell you that if you give me 2 seconds. Let's
Of
see.
course.
In my recent, we've got Deftones,
Ooh,
Devil Wears Prada,
nice.
Notorious B.I.G.,
Ooh, all right.
Ghost, Florence and the Machine. We've got Flyleaf in there.
Oh,
See,
classic.
oh my gosh, Lacey, like, okay.
Ooh.
When I was in high school and all the girls wanted to be Haley Williams, I wanted to be Lacey from Flyleaf. Like, just saying.
I feel that. I'm on both camps. Again, I
Oh,
have
for sure. You know,
you
we
gotta
all
love
gotta win
both.
out here.
Yeah, I think they're both great. I think Lacey is heavily underrated, certainly. So, always
Yeah,
gotta give kudos to Flyleaf. I feel like
all of
they
that.
they don't get mentioned enough. And I also think influence wise, I feel like that was another band again that I was trying to think of but couldn't remember it. But I feel like you definitely have like some Flyleaf elements in there, and I was like
But
about
yeah,
that.
Flyleaf, in this moment, arch enemy for sure. I mean, I wouldn't
Oh,
be doing any of this without Angela Gasso. Like, she set the stage for it, you know? But
I
yeah,
would agree.
I feel like when I'm not in writing cycles, I can be a little bit less eclectic. Like when I'm trying to write, I'm like trying to expand and I want to think about like what's out there and like what I can play with for sounds and stuff. And I'm like just being comfortable and the cycle's over. I'm just like, yeah, no, about these 10 songs right here. Yeah.
I feel that I'm kind of the same way, even though I feel like my taste changes like all the time, and I have to be very like fluid on like what I'm listening to and stuff. But I always say in like my album review things that I do live, I'm always like, if this album can stay in my rotation for like a week, it's probably gonna stand the test of time for me
Yep.
because I cycle through so many albums. But yeah, I feel you on that. Like even when I'm not like in the hyper mode of like let me listen to every album that comes out, I'm like listening to some like if I'm out here at my desk and I'm like editing, I'm listening to some like lo-fi, some like Nintendo lo-fi. That shit's like chef's kiss.
For real.
It's like the ultimate like somehow it's like my brain's like I need the music juice and then it just hits, I put on some lo-fi and then I just speed run through all of my editing and stuff. It's just like a
Yes.
breeze. So guys, if you're like me and you probably have some sort of ADD or whatever, lo-fi is the shit, and you need to add that.
Seriously.
I know people get shit on all the time for lo-fi, but I don't mind. I'm a lo-fi stan, So
Oh, exactly. I think honestly, I mean, as silly as it sounds, without paying some sort of homage to the lower fi sounds that we came from and stuff, like we're gonna forget about a lot of it. I think it actually preserves kind of like the time quality music. You know what I mean? Like it just feels. I don't know. I don't know.
I feel you on that. It's like well, except for like I feel like the Nintendo like the video game stuff that's like it's like tapping into like a nostalgia thing that's just like okay, it's like, oh, I
It's
remember that
familiar,
game.
yeah.
I remember that game, but like the beat's so cool, like the music is just so like relaxing and it puts you in that like perfect like mental flow or mental state, so I think for me it's like it scratches two itches where it's like nostalgia, but then like the mental state is just like a fucking highway. It's
It's like
great.
vaporwave in that way.
Yeah, oh yeah, like the midnight, I'll put some the midnight on. Oh, it's
Oh my
great,
gosh.
highly recommend. Go check them out. But the next question I have for you, Emily, since you've been on the channel multiple times, I always like switching the questions up. This one has been a more current one to the rotation, and I love asking it. With the advent of bands reuniting and getting back together, whether to do like maybe an album or a tour or whatever, what band would you love to see come back? Like, what's a band that you're like, man, are they on hiatus? They broke up, whatever. What's a band you would love if they could get back together tomorrow? Who would you want?
Oh my god, that's a huge question. That would take me a little bit to think about. Oh my god. I was not prepared for that one. Um See, that's the problem with I listen to so much. It's like until I think of it, it's just in the fog.
I gotta put you on the spot a little bit. I feel like
I mean,
that's
keeping me on my toes here.
this is the test of a good interview. If I can like put you on your toes, I can cut out all the dead air. At this point where you're trying to like come up with a sick answer.
All right. That's how you tease the episode. Here, just watch me and ha through it for like 10 minutes.
We'll just cut it up where I'm just like, making different
Yeah.
faces. Then by the end of it, you're like,
Oh my god.
I'd love for this band to get back together, and I just cut it to black, and then they're like, "What's it? What band is it?" I'm just kidding. I would never do that. That's very
Oh
much a
my
tease.
god.
I'm not about that. Not an asshole. At least I'll try to be.
No. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I I really would I know that they've been still putting out records occasionally,
Okay.
but I would love to see Zayo start touring again because they put out I think um actually I think this was like 2016 or 17. They put out like their first record in like 9 years and then they
Ooh,
paused again on music and I'm like, no, come on, please. Like don't do that. Don't make
what a
me wait another
tease.
10 years for a record or for a tour. Just come up this way already. God.
What a tease. That's terrible. I hate that. That's like that's like one of the worst things. It's just like, hey, so we released this album and now we're gonna go back into hibernation again.
Feel like such a baller move at that point in the game where you can just be like, yeah, this is the best record of our career, and then AWOL, just nowhere to be found. Like,
That's
hey
how
guys, I just dropped off the Holy Grail. There's a return address on it, but
here's arguably one of the best albums of our generation. Here you go. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. All right, see you. And then you just
yep,
walk out of the room.
audio.
Um, that was like shout outs to Silent Drive. I had them on and they were a band that was like they put out an album like 15 years ago and then they just put out their newest one, which is arguably also great as well. And I'm just like, how? Like I imagine if you're a fan and you're just been like 15 years, you wait like and you're not even sure if that's like you're gonna see an album in 15 years. You're everybody was like patiently waiting. They're like, okay, so like they're not broken up, but they're like definitely on hiatus. Like when are we gonna like unthaw them from their like cryogenic state, you know? And then they are just like, hey, so the pandemic happened, we wrote an album and here it is. And then everybody's like, oh my god, the
Yeah,
time, it's
right.
here, it's here. Like it's like a procession, you know, everybody gets hyped about it. It's like, man, that's such a great feeling. And I like big shout outs to Pete. He was a great person to talk to. But um it's crazy. Like I think about that and like when I had actually gotten that question asked to me, and so I felt like gotta add it into the rotation of like bands.
I actually, do you want to add to my answer real quick?
Do it up.
And this is probably going to be a sore spot. I'm sorry to bring up this name too soon, but every time I die, y'all need to work your shit out and come back because that record you just put out and then to not be a band anymore right after. I'm just.
Pour one out, you know? That's how oh, yeah, that one hurt. I feel like that one hurt a lot. Though I will say, you know, a good replacement and, you know, big shout outs to Brent.
I mean, they're both doing great. I know Keith is going to do whatever, anyways, and he's going to be fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's just,
It's a
damn.
rough it's a rough
No?
it's a rough blow, you know, that's how I see it, you know, I feel like I've always, like, appreciated Every Time I Die. I've seen them a couple different times live as well, and it's just like, man, they're such a fantastic band live, and the fact that their album they just put out was just, like, monumentally so good, yeah, I feel that. That one hurt me, and I'm not even, like, the biggest Every Time I Die fan, so I feel like for people who are, like, hella
Well,
dedicated to Every
Radical
Time I
was great.
Die. That
I mean,
that must have hurt.
if that's your final statement as a band, I mean, hell, that's something to put your hat on. Like, at least you went out with a bang.
Yeah, that's true. They did put out some of their best work on that album, so can't agree with that. But guys,
Like, it has been one of the best things from the pandemic for like all of these amazing tours and bands that have been reuniting and putting out new music and stuff. I feel like it just really like just lit a fire under everybody,
mhm,
to like, this is what we've had to do without like and now I'm like we're still seeing it. Like some of these tour lineups that are still coming up and I'm just like, Jesus, it's been like 5 years, 6 years since we've seen any lineup that good.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think the end of this year has had some really great lineups that I'm going to, so guys, keep your eyes peeled. But as well as that, like, man, it's just like cool to see bands still doing it and still kicking it, and you know we weren't sure for a long time if that was going to happen, and I think that that's to me like that would have like put me over the top. Like I would have been heavily into like depression mode if like I couldn't see live music again. So I'm glad, you know, certainly that bands are coming back, bands are playing live, and obviously if Emily plays live, you know, I hope she comes to PA. That's my dream. That's my hope, you know, so we can meet in person. But, you know, for now it'll be the online shit, but I'm hoping one day we're gonna tear it up in Philly. But
it's not out of the question yet. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
There we go. There we go. And then I'll also say, as a slight plug to one of my favorite bands, if you are sorely missing out on some Every Time I Die, Greyhaven, great substitute. Go check
My
them
God,
out.
yes. Seriously,
Fantastic.
Grey Haven.
They're awesome. And to, slightly plug myself, I interviewed Brent recently, and it was just chef's kiss. 2 hours of Greyhaven. Mm,
Dude,
it
that's
was
a good day.
it
That's
was
a good
it was a good one. So very fun. Check that one out if you are interested. Um, but the next question I have for you, Emily, lyrically, I feel like this is definitely your most honest work to date. Certainly, what, what were you drawing from inspirationally wise in regards to your lyrics? I feel like a lot of it has to do with your transition, as well as probably some other things as well. I know you talked about in TCU, it's like addiction was one of the other things as well. So, what do you want people to kind of understand about the new EP coming out and like the type of topics that you talk about? Because I feel like they're very like heartfelt, and I think that the emotion behind it is definitely felt. I would say for myself, like there was times where I was like, oh, I could feel the goosebumps, and I feel like,
day.
obviously some of these things that I don't personally deal with, and, obviously I can't experience the transition of, transitioning. So, I feel like it's important topic to talk about, certainly. And also at the same point, I think that hopefully it gives people that, inspiration. If that's what they feel like they want to do, then, hopefully that opens up that door to be like, you do you. If that makes you feel like yourself, then fucking do it.
Exactly. I mean, that's my hope with. I mean, if I'm not doing this for the other people that feel just like me, I mean, who am I doing it for?
Oh, 100%.
I'm hoping that if any, like, whoever hears my music understands that, like, I'm not just coming in to cry at you angrily for a couple minutes. I'm trying to, like, I want people to know that, like, they're not the only ones that feel that way, because sometimes it takes somebody else saying something for you to, like, have it click in your head, like, oh my God, yeah, no, that is how I felt about that. And despite being trans, I never wanted to, like, just like, I know we talked about the punk mentality and everything. I didn't want to just tell people about transitioning with my lyrics,
Sure.
it's thoughts that I had on the way through it, things that I wrestle through. And LMTFA, which closes out the EP, is actually about being marginalized.
Hmm.
Um, it's your control is fading. We get sold this idea, and then one day we realize that, like, hang on, it's not lining up. Like,
Yeah.
um, I mean, there's already the theme of, like, trying to love yourself and move out of the darkness in my music, but this one I didn't want to go in fighting it. I kind of wanted to go in and, like, hey, this is the darkness, let's start here.
Yeah.
you know um I tried my actual very best to, um like, I don't know, I really wanted to challenge myself as a songwriter. I really wanted to not just hone what I do well, but also, like, to push it a little bit. So, like, there's some stuff that it's a little more. Goodness, I am just losing my words here.
It's all right. You take your
It's
time.
late.
I
I'm an
got you.
old.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
No, honestly, just with the new form of self hatred, I wanted to um take you through this trip. I love the analogy you used earlier about, like, you're not going down a couple side streets and you're getting in the car and you're going straight, and you're going straight there. If it takes you through a building, if it takes you through the woods, like, you're going,
Yeah.
and that is the ride. And because in a lot of ways, that's what transitioning was for me. It wasn't, I got to logically sit there and decide that this was the best choice of action for me.
Hmm.
It was thrust upon me in the sense that, like, if I didn't acknowledge this, I wasn't going to continue living.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very much from the eyes. The whole record is from the eyes of me being like, okay, let's go then. Because I'm not just gonna sit here and, be like, oh, okay, I was supposed to be born this way, but I wasn't. And, the things you think early on about, like, it's the self-discovery isn't all of it, because with every piece of what you learn about yourself, there's a part of yourself you have to grieve too,
Yeah,
like, I like to tell people that I spent years hating myself because I was only 1/10 of a person.
sure.
And now, as Emily, you have 10/10ths of a person, and there's so much more there. Um, and I feel like it shows through in my lyrics that it's not just here we go, let's try to get through this, but it's like there's a fire there now of like, no, we got this, honey. We're gonna do this. So yeah.
No, and I think again, much kudos to, going through that experience and allowing people to, feel those experiences with you because like I said, I don't personally know that on my hand, but I always try to feel like I have to come about it from a place of like caring and honesty and, asking the questions because I don't know how you lived your life. I don't know how like your experiences affect you and everybody goes about it differently. And, I feel like that comes with a host of problems that, obviously people battle through. And, I want to let everybody know that if you are dealing with something like, feel free to DM me. I like try to answer everybody I can. Obviously I'm one person, but I try to do my damnness to make sure that, this isn't just me doing YouTube and that I'm like some person on this pedestal somewhere. I'm not. Like I'm a human just like you. I go through things that I'm sure a lot of people can experience and sometimes that thing just need somebody to talk to be able to understand what you're going through and maybe they might not understand the full picture, but I think it's important to have that talk. If somebody really wants to be able to speak with somebody about it, like, I want to let people know that I'm here to listen and that, there's an opportunity there. If you feel the need to reach out, then absolutely do it. I don't know if I'll be able to provide you with the best advice at the time, but I think maybe an open ear is always a good opportunity to have someone else maybe hear your point of view on something. And again, with people that are in the trans community, like I feel like for myself, like there's a lot of shit I have to learn and I have to be caring and understanding of. And I always feel like whenever I have the opportunity to have people in the LGBT community, like I want to be able to like feel like this is, again, at the beginning, as I mentioned, this is a safe space and I've always wanted that to be that way. And so for me, it's like, telling that story and having that importance to things, like, in knowing that battles happen, that, there are other people that experience those sorts of pains or struggles, and that, I'm sure Emily would love to answer anything that you might have, in regards to transitioning and things that obviously I couldn't explain by any stretch. But, I think that I love the fact that now you are comfortable in where you're at. And I think that that's the best thing. And obviously, as we mentioned before the show started, I love the fact that you mentioned you're like, I'm in a much happier place and I'm writing the most pissed off music I've made to date. And I think that that is the best, that is the best indicator of the type of music that Emily makes. But also at the same point, I think it's the most like on the nail, on point thing because she does write very pissed off music. So I can concur on that one. But
It's
it
like look at me and there's just all this pink and like whatever, and then yeah, I just
it's a great dichotomy. I think
it
that
really
that's the best part. But like I said, I think for me it's like, you know, I I think it makes me respect the music that you create that much more and the people that, within the trans community, the LGBT community, like I think that it makes me respect their way of living and the way that they go about their lives, because I don't understand the struggle. Like, I could maybe resonate more so with someone who is a person of color. Like, I've dealt with my fair share of battles as well in that aspect. And I think that we all have that shared struggle, and I think that's a great thing that is why I love this scene, is that there are so many people out there that deal with shit, and that, you know, you could have someone to latch on to that's just like, this person gets how I feel.
It's not like, I don't always need someone to fix my problem, but like knowing that someone's there to like kind of help me get through that shit, like
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I don't have to have all the answers. You
Yeah.
figure it out.
You
Yeah,
just plow through it, you just take the car and you just drive it straight through, you
exactly.
just drive it straight
Exactly.
through the building. I feel like for me, it's like, that's the reason why I do this. And, I hope that if anything, if you guys take away something, is that I hope that, there are people out there within this scene that care about you and want to see the best for you. So, again, feel free to hit the DMs up if you want to talk to me. If not, I'm sure, again, Emily would love to talk about her experiences as well, and, trying to make the
Right.
community a better place. So, if we can make that happen, always a good thing. But obviously, we're going to move off from the very heavy topic. I always love throwing in some fun questions as well. Emily, this one, I don't believe I asked you, but if I did, I do apologize. If you were to compile a musical supergroup, who would be in your band?
Oh dear Lord. Okay, let me see.
From one gun punch to the next, right?
Oh my gosh. You'd think for preparing to talk for an hour, I would prepare to talk about things.
I'll just blame it on the lack of sleep deprivation, because we
There
all
you
feel
go.
that.
It's an easy out. No, I would definitely say um, Wes Borland on guitar.
Ooh,
Just the man's a genius, from Black Light Burns to Limp Bizkit to, I mean, he's even been in the Danny Elfman band. I mean, like, the guy's just, he's wild. He's
talented.
absolutely wild.
Yeah.
I love hearing what he comes up with. I would absolutely love him to be in a band. Um, the, oh God, the, ah, no, Wes is in my band.
Just Wes.
Exactly. Nope, that's the band. Um, the drummer from, why can I not think of their name? Bro, I am so sorry.
Oh, it's all
I am
good.
like killing in
We're
not a
gonna
good
we're
way.
gonna stitch it up so well that no one's gonna know that you're taking your time to think about these answers, and just me.
Oh my gosh. I just, for me, it's like having encyclopedic knowledge of music means that option paralysis is always on the table.
Yes, and I also feel like
Bro,
you're gonna have a flash flood of good answers by the time this interview is over with. I think it's just the camera. I always say that all the time.
has to be that extra pressure.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Aaron from Under Oath on drums. Just like
All
one of the
right.
most inventive, like just there's nothing that he does on the drums that I don't enjoy. Like
Oh yeah.
how, like a big part of why I enjoy Under Oath so much is that percussive element to their music. It's just like never not interesting. Um, Fuck it. I want to hear Halsey in this because I know
That
Halsey has
works.
done like some pop punk shit and like she's got a little bit of that love
Mm-hmm.
for the alt scene. I would love to see her like actually get into like a rock band.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
eh,
This is interesting. I like this so far. This is
this
good.
is a weird super group, but I'm here for it. Oh God. I feel like I would want to do something out of the box too, like have let's see. Oh gosh. Not to be too sad here, but man, if only we could get Chi from Deftones on bass, man, for this super group.
Ooh.
It's an across time
All right.
super
All
group
right. All
here.
right. Respect. Respect. I like this. I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the band right there. You got a femme-fronted, weird alt band with all kinds of different influences there.
Yeah, all right. I can rock with that. I like that. I like that. That's a vibe, you know. And I feel like it's great that you mentioned that band. You know, mentioned Deftones because I just checked out the new Polyphia album and that song with Chino Moreno. Woo,
Oh
that was so good. That was such a. Oh man, he needs to. I feel like he needs to do a project like that. That would be so tight.
for real. Oh my gosh, I would love that.
That'd be so sick. Chino. I don't
Chino.
know what I'm gonna. I don't have any pull on this, but I feel like if I did, then I would muster all that energy to make that happen.
Oh my gosh.
Even like an EP, I would take an EP with like Chino Moreno and like also Polyphia together. Like
Yes.
on
Oh
like,
my god.
I would
Seriously.
take like 3 tracks. I'm not asking for a lot here. You know, I'll barter. We do 5. That'd be great. You know.
Just a taste,
Just a
man.
little
You know.
taste, you know? Little I listen, I'll do it, you know? So, let's make it happen. But, the next question I have for you, Emily, kind of in the same lane as the, Dream supergroup, if there was someone that you would love to have as a guest feature on an up and coming Emily Coffey song, who would you want to have on?
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I would love to have Tati from Ginger. I would be so honored. You know, like I've actually thought about this before. I'm like, man, if I really could have my pick though, because I would just love to do like a song that teases heavy all the way through, and then just comes right smack in, and she just takes over, and it's just like, damn, there she goes. You know, like
I feel
I
that.
can see that.
I think
Please, can we make it happen?
my cat,
We're
I
pulling a lot
think
of artists here, so let's call her too.
there we go. All right, guys. This is the deal. All right, this is a sitch. This is what you got to do. So you take your phone out, you go to twitter.com, you tag Emily Coffey on Twitter, and then you also tag Tati from Ginger, and you also tag Courtney LaPlante from Spirit Box on a like amazing like female. Like if we can get Lacey Strum out here, you know, I don't know if she's on Twitter, but like listen, get 4 fucking sick females on one track. You know, I'm not ready for the internet to implode, but I would damn well be sure that it'd be pretty damn close.
Oh, the heavy queens all on one track. That'd be, oh my gosh.
I don't know why no one's has done this. You know, listen, I'll take a 10% royalty cut on that. You know, I'll five. I'll be nice. 5%. That's the deal. You know, I don't ask for a lot, but it would be nice to just like get a little mention. You know,
You
just
know,
saying.
there's like every once in a while back, like in the 90s, they'd have like this one track that's just like not not like Wu Tang. I mean, not Wu Tang, but like Wu Tang. They would just have like 4 or 5 different rappers just
Yeah.
go
Oh my
all in
god.
on one track. I'm like, why has nobody done that with metal yet, yo? Like,
Yo, guys, get on that. You know, listen, we're on the ground level. This is the entry level right now. It's just gonna be me and Emily to start, but listen, we're gonna this empire is just gonna continue to grow. So, you know, if you want to be on the ground floor and invest now, that would be great. You know, so
thanks, leave it down.
let's make
Now's
let's
the time to get on board.
let's make it happen, guys. I'm v stoked on that, but the next question, Emily, and the last one that I love rounding my interviews off with as of recently. Guys, if you have spent this lovely hour with me and Emily, much love. Appreciate all you. Um,
Oh, so much.
but the question I have for you, Emily, is what do you want people to take away from your music? As as a person who is a creative, as very similar to myself, like we all do these for we all do this for a reason. We don't do this isn't our unfortunately not as of right now it's not our day jobs, but we do it because we love it. So why do you pour so much effort and love into this? Because I feel like again, uh I have loved all of the songs I've listened to, and so for me, I always want to know what like drives people to like do what they love to do because I know what I love to do and why I love having people on to interview. So why do you love creating music and wanting to share that experience with other people?
I know the very first time that like I remember experiencing heavy music, you know, because like when you're a kid, you kind of like understand that there's different kinds of music and
Sure.
stuff. But
Yeah.
the first time something like catches you and you're just like, oh, that's what music is. Um, I know for me, when I found that, suddenly I did not feel alone. You know, there was
Yeah.
somebody like who could let out all the screams for me, who could say all those things for me, who could make art out of ugly things, you know? Like it's you know, there I think I was gonna go into a whole tangent about writing, but I won't do that. I just
You do
you
whatever you
know,
want.
well, I was just gonna I love ugly chords. I feel like it takes so much effort to purposefully take a chord and make it ugly by dropping one thing or, you know, just I think that it's I mean, music is the chemistry of sound, dude. It's endless possibilities, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
stepping through a door that you don't ever have to get out of. Like once you're in that, you don't have to. And I really hope that, like, I'm sure you know people already have like a lot of their favorite established artists or whatever out there. But if they come across mine in something similar and are like, "Oh, yo, I never thought about it that way before," or like, "That's really all I want." It's just like maybe I can make a little ripple, you know, in the pond, so to speak.
I feel that, and I think for sure you're making more than ripples at this point. So, again, I think for me, like, I love what you said, certainly, because I feel like, again, music is just that, it just tugs at the heart, and I think it's like, regardless of if like, music is the universal language, everybody's going to understand, like, and especially I would say more specifically with like alternative music, like, there's just something about it where like it hits your soul. Like there's something about it that just connects beyond the heart, and it just transcends that. And I think that with these songs, like, again, I don't know what you've personally experienced, but I feel like there is some level of connection in these songs where you're like, okay, I may not have experienced this personally, but you can hear the way that, if you listen to music like myself, like, you find that reason to connect to it. And I feel like with a lot of the songs that you have released, there's just some level of connection that I feel towards them, and I hope that other people can feel that level of connection as well. So, Emily, this is the perfect transition into the final point, which is, tell people where they can find your music at, the EP coming out, date, things of that nature. Tell the people where they can find you at.
Absolutely. So, a new form of self hatred EP is coming out on November 11th, 11/11. It's going to be on all the streamings, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, Apple Music, all that fun stuff. Um, I am more than likely going to be doing a Twitch listening party as well.
Woo!
So we'll absolutely, I mean, I'd love to do a track by track with you, but I think that'll be more of like people get to stop in and hear a little bit of what's going on with the EP and everything. So, but yeah, 1 week from today, we'll be dropping a new form of self hatred on y'all.
There we go.
And
Well,
along with it too is going to be like the whole Emily Coffey rebrand too. It's just all behind it. So yeah.
there we go. Well, again, as I've been saying throughout this entire interview, go check out Emily Coffee. Links below. Gonna check out the EP. She's coming back on again. I'm gonna be talking about every song on the track, on the album, on the EP. Go give it a listen. It's all gonna be fantastic. Again, I listened to Daddy Issues, Taste of You, LMTFA, all of those songs. Heat. Gotta go check them out. They're great. I personally listen to them, and people think I shill all the time, but legitimately good shit. So go check it out. And it's no shills here. So
No
please
show.
go check out Emily's stuff. She will be back on very soon, and ironically enough, I think this interview will be coming out like either on that Friday or Wednesday. Uh, you'll have to find out because it's gonna be coming out very soon. So, again, if you
Fantastic.
if you enjoyed this interview, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. Also, I know I've been saying this for a couple different interviews, but trying to muddle through 7 years worth of interviews is very difficult. So I am getting these all up on Spotify, Apple Music, any podcast
Woo!
site you stream. It's going to be on all the streaming platforms for audio version if you just don't want to see my dumb face in a video. So please go listen to it. Go give it a good recommendation on the streaming services because if anything, that is going to help my channel out immensely. So thank you very much. And again, huge thanks to Emily for coming on. I always love having when the fam returns. It's a blessed day.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Brandon, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.